My name is Rick. I'm a graphic designer living in the concrete jungle of New York City. To be honest, my life felt a bit monotonous. Wake up, go to the office, stare at a laptop all day, and come home exhausted. I had friends, sure, but I felt a real lack of a partner. I tried the dating apps for a while, but it was mostly a parade of disappointment, so I eventually gave up. A month ago, an ad for a new app called Destiny popped up on my phone. The slogan caught my eye. Your destiny is waiting. It was different from other apps. There were no profile pictures or bios, just a series of deep questions about your personality, likes, and dislikes. Driven by curiosity, I answered them honestly, not expecting anything to come of it. A few days later, a notification appeared. Your destiny is waiting. I opened the app to a blank white screen with only one name, Lillian. No picture, no message, just the option to send one. I hesitated, but an odd sense of excitement bubbled inside me. I typed, "Hi, I'm Rick." Her reply was instant. "I'm Lillian, your destiny." Our first conversation was strange, like we had known each other for years. There was no small talk, just deep, personal, and sincere discussion. She seemed to know what I was thinking, what I was feeling. The more we talked, the more I was drawn to her. She told me she lived in Los Angeles, a distance that felt immense, but as we talked, it seemed to vanish entirely. Within a few weeks, we were talking every day. Texting, calling, video chatting. Each conversation deepened our connection. Her voice was soft and calm, like a sweet melody in the quiet of the night. The first time I saw her on a video call, my heart skipped a beat. Long black hair, deep brown eyes, and a mysterious smile. She looked like something out of a painting. We decided to meet for our first date at a small cafe in Los Angeles. I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. I was flying over 700 miles to meet her, and a part of me wondered if I was making a mistake. What if she wasn't who I thought she was? But something in my gut told me, no, Rick, this is different. When I landed in LA, it was a dreary, rainy day. I took a cab to the cafe and saw her instantly. She was sitting by the window, reading a book, dressed in a black shirt and blue jeans. I stopped for a moment, just staring. She was even more beautiful in person. I walked over. She looked up and smiled. "Rick?" "Yeah, I'm Rick." I sat down across from her. We talked for hours, losing all track of time. She told me about her life, her childhood, her dreams, her fears. She used to be a nurse but was now a writer. Her way of speaking was mesmerizing. As the sun went down, we left the cafe. "Rick," she said, "I feel like we've known each other forever." "Me too," I said with a smile. We walked the rain-slicked streets of LA, the scent of the city calming me. She took my hand and an electric jolt went through me. Her touch felt like a strange kind of energy. Then she looked at me. "Rick, there's something I need to tell you." "What is it?" I asked. "I want to be very close to you." That night, we stayed in a hotel in Los Angeles. It all felt like a dream. When I woke up the next morning, Lillian was gone. A text message from her read, "I had some urgent things to take care of. I'll see you again soon, Rick. Very soon." I flew back to New York, but my heart remained in LA. We started talking every day again, but I noticed a subtle change in her words. She seemed to know every detail of my life. Where I went, what I did, who I talked to. She knew everything. One afternoon, I went out for lunch with an old friend. Immediately, Lillian texted me, "I saw your friend. He seems nice." I was stunned. "Where did you see him?" "Everywhere, Rick," she replied. "I see you everywhere." Her words were unsettling. I asked her, "Are you following me?" "I am your shadow," she wrote. "You are mine, only mine." A cold fear crept into my mind. Who was this girl? Did I even know her? Her words were starting to sound unhinged. I told her I needed some space. She didn't reply, but the next morning I found a small black box on my doorstep. Inside was a note and a peculiar-looking candle. The note read, "Rick, I know you are mine. Light this candle and feel me." I was torn between fear and an odd, lingering attraction to her. I decided to light the candle. The room filled with a sweet, cloying scent. I then left for work, but as I walked, a sharp pain began to pound in my head. Everything around me started to blur. I stumbled my way to the office elevator. When the doors opened, a vague shadow stood inside. The shadow slowly solidified into Lillian, her deep brown eyes, that mysterious smile. My throat went dry. I felt like the life was draining from me. I couldn't speak. Lillian stepped towards me, a faint smile on her lips. "Did you think you could escape me?" she whispered. "I am your destiny, Rick. You can't run. I'm inside you." I watched as her face began to twist. A black void formed in the center of each of her irises, and something seemed to be trying to claw its way out. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My vision went dark. The elevator doors closed. When I came to, I was on the floor of my office. The pounding in my head hadn't subsided. There was no shadow, no Lillian, nothing but the concerned faces of my co-workers. "Rick, are you okay?" my manager Robert asked. "You just collapsed in front of the elevator." I tried to explain. "There was a girl in the elevator, Lillian. Robert cut me off. "Rick, I think you were having a nightmare. The elevator was empty. I saw you collapse right there." No one believed me. They assumed I was stressed out and overworked, but I knew what I saw. Those hollow black eyes, that chilling smile, it was all seared into my memory. I went home, shaken. The first thing I did was throw that cursed black box into the dumpster. Then I went to my laptop and tried to find the Destiny app. It was gone. Not just from my phone, but a quick Google search confirmed there was no such dating app. It was as if it never existed. I realized then that this was no ordinary app and Lillian was no ordinary person. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, Lillian's face would appear. Her smile, her voice, everything haunted me. Then, a new notification flashed on my phone. A text from an unknown number. "Rick, don't try to get away from me. I'm inside you. Your body, your mind, everything is mine now." My blood ran cold. I threw my phone across the room. She was an invisible stalker, a malevolent presence that had invaded my life. I considered calling the police, but what would I say? I met a girl on a dating app and now she's harassing me and says she's living inside my body? They'd think I was crazy. I called my old friend Josh, a psychologist. I told him everything. He listened patiently and asked me to come to his office the next day. He told me it might just be stress, that I was imagining things. "Josh," I pleaded, "do you believe me?" He looked at me with sympathy. "Rick, I don't know what's happening to you, but you need peace of mind. You need to get out of the city for a few days." His words convinced me, and the next day, I drove to my family's old cabin in the woods. I hoped the quiet calm of nature would help me clear my head. But even there, the nightmares continued. I dreamed of Lillian chasing me, choking me. I would wake up with strange bruises on my body, unsure of how they got there. One night, I was sitting on the porch. The sky was clear, the stars bright. Suddenly, I saw a shadow moving in the yard. It was coming closer. A figure in a black shirt and blue jeans. Lillian. She was holding a bouquet of flowers. She walked towards me, that mysterious smile on her face. "Rick, what are you doing here? I was looking for you." My body trembled with fear. What are you doing here?" "I came with you," she whispered. "I'm inside you." I saw the black voids in her eyes again. A dark mist curled out of them, moving towards me. I ran inside and locked the door, but then I heard a voice outside the door. "Rick, you can't stay locked up forever. Come back to me." Terrified, I ran out the back door and sprinted into the darkness. Her laughter echoed in my head, a sound only I could hear. I ran until I found myself in an old graveyard. I hid behind a tombstone, catching my breath. My eyes scanned the weathered monuments. On one, a name was carved. Lillian. My hands shaking, I read the dates. Lillian had died over 50 years ago. Was I dealing with a ghost? My phone screen lit up. A new text from the unknown number. It was a picture of the very same bouquet of flowers Lillian had been holding. "Still don't believe me, Rick?" The message read. "Your destiny will follow you. Even death can't keep me from you." I knew then there was no escaping this nightmare. She was a spirit, an entity that had somehow bonded with me. And that Destiny app was just a trap to lure me in. I ran again, the only thought in my head being, can I escape her, or is she truly my destiny? I ran from the graveyard, with nothing but my breath and my fear for company. I sprinted along the dirt roads like a madman, Lillian's laughter still echoing in my ears. I felt her with me, following my every step. I stumbled upon an old church, its doors standing ajar. I darted inside and sank onto a pew, my heart hammering in my chest. The quiet of the church offered a moment of calm, but it was short-lived. My phone started to ring. The screen showed that same unknown number. I silenced the call, but it kept ringing. I threw the phone, but even after it shattered on the floor, the ringing persisted, a sound only I could hear. "Rick, where will you run?" Lillian's voice whispered in my mind. "I'll find you, your soul is mine," I screamed. The priest of the church came to my side. "What is it, my son?" he asked. I told him everything. The Destiny app, Lillian, her stalking me, my collapse in the elevator, the grave with her name on it, everything. The priest listened intently, then said, "My son, I believe you are connected to a spirit. This spirit may have entered you." He handed me a small crucifix. "Keep this with you. It will protect you. Stay here tonight. We will pray together." I decided to stay. The priest's words and the cross gave me some hope. Maybe this could save me. As the night deepened, I sat on the pew, and the priest began to pray. Suddenly, the church doors burst open and a chilling wind swept through the room. A shadow stood in the doorway, Lillian's shadow. Her eyes glowed like embers, and her body was a transparent haze. The priest stood up, raising his own crucifix. "In the name of Jesus, leave this place," he commanded. Lillian laughed, a sound like glass shattering. "Jesus can't stop me. I'm in his body now. He is mine, and I've come to take him." She glided toward me, her hands wreathed in black smoke. She gripped my throat, and I felt like I was suffocating. I cried out in pain, my eyes watering. The priest rushed to my side, placing his hand on me. "In the name of Jesus, release him," he chanted, his voice rising in power. Lillian snarled at him, her eyes burning with rage. She shoved him back. As she turned her attention back to me, I raised the crucifix he had given me. It made contact with her, and she screamed, a sound that was pure agony. Smoke billowed from her form, her face contorting, the black voids in her eyes widening. I realized the crucifix was her weakness. I pressed it against her. She shrieked as her body began to dissolve. Her form became fainter, her face fading away. Her last words echoed in the room. You can't defeat me, Rick. I am your destiny. I'll be back. I'll be inside you." And then she was gone. The church was silent again. I sat on the floor, gasping for air. The priest came to my side. "Are you all right, my son?" I nodded. "I'm fine." I returned to New York the next day. My life seemed to return to normal. I got a new phone, and the Destiny app was a distant memory. I stopped using dating apps altogether. I thought it was over. But one day I was working on my computer when a file opened on my screen. The name of the file was The Grave of Lillian. I clicked on it, and a girl's laughter filled my office. I whipped around, but no one was there. I looked down at my desk and saw a candle burning. It was the same one Lillian had sent me, its sickly sweet scent filling the air. But I had thrown it away. My phone screen glowed. The wallpaper had changed. It was a picture of Lillian, the same one from our video calls. Below it, a message was written. "Rick, I'm waiting for you. I haven't let go. I'll be back for you." I finally understood. Lillian wasn't gone. She was just waiting for the moment when I was most alone, most vulnerable. And when she returned, she would possess me completely. My life isn't mine anymore. I'm not Rick. I'm just a puppet, waiting for my destiny to take over. My name is Alex, and I'm an architect. My life in the heart of New York City was a well-crafted design. I worked for a prestigious firm, had my own apartment in Manhattan, and spent my free time with friends. I believed life was a carefully planned blueprint, and I meticulously arranged every part of it. My world had no room for mistakes or chaos. A few months ago, I met Miria at an art gallery. She was a curator with dark hair and deep, tranquil eyes. She exuded a quiet intensity. She noticed me and smiled, a smile that held a deep sense of mystery. We started talking, and she analyzed my work in a way no one ever had before. She saw the psychological depth in my designs, a complexity I hadn't even recognized myself. Our relationship deepened quickly. For the first time, I felt an overpowering connection to someone, enough to neglect everything else. Miria told me about her dream project, an art museum designed to shake people to their core. I was thrilled and agreed to help, but she gave me a condition. "Alex," she said, "this project is very important, but to do it, you must accept a condition. Every floor, every design, every angle of this museum must be based on a powerful real-life psychological experience. Before you submit a design, you must first experience the emotion you're trying to convey, and it has to be a profound one." I was taken aback, but the project's allure was too strong. I agreed, not knowing what I was getting into. My first assignment was the floor of loss. I had to design a space where people would feel the deepest sense of personal loss. "Alex," Miria said, "have you ever experienced a great loss? If not, you must." I was confused. My life had been perfect. I told her I hadn't experienced any major loss, but I was willing to take on the project. "What is the greatest loss you could imagine?" she asked. "My father," I said without a second thought. My dad was an architect too, and I learned so much from him. Losing him would be the greatest loss of all. Miria just smiled. "You love your father," she said. "Now you will feel the greatest loss of all. That's when you'll be ready to design the floor." I didn't listen to her. I went to my father's house. He gave me some of his old design files to look at. Suddenly my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered, and a cold voice on the other end said, "Your father has passed away." My world collapsed. I couldn't believe it. I went to Miria. She saw the grief on my face and smiled. "Alex," she said, "you loved your father. Now you've experienced the greatest loss. Now you can design the floor." I was terrified. Was she responsible for my father's death? I looked at her, and her eyes burned with a strange anger. "Alex, don't you trust me?" she asked. "What did you do?" I pleaded. "I didn't do anything, Alex. I just helped you experience the greatest loss of your life. Now go. The deadline is close." Trembling with fear, I returned to my studio. I started designing the floor of loss. Every line, every angle, every detail was a tribute to my father's memory. I poured my grief and pain into the design. It was a masterpiece, unlike anything I had ever created before. When I finished, Miria arrived. She looked at the design and smiled. "Alex, it's perfect. Now you will design the next floor." "I can't do this anymore, Miria," I said. "You're destroying my life." Miria laughed. "Alex, you can't leave. You started this project and you will finish it." I felt trapped. Miria had turned my life into a terrifying game, and my own art was turning against me. Miria's words left me frozen. I knew I was trapped in her game. My mind raced, trying to understand her motives. Why was she doing this to me? "Why are you doing this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Miria just smiled. "Alex, you don't get it, do you? You're an architect. Your life is a blueprint. My life is a game. I just wanted to break you out of your perfect design." Her explanation gave me no comfort. I wanted to run, to leave the studio, but Miria blocked my way. "You can't leave, Alex. You started this project and you will finish it." My second assignment was the floor of fear. I had to design a space where people would experience their greatest phobias. "Alex," Miria said, "what is your greatest fear?" My greatest fear was loneliness. I told Miria I was afraid of being alone. "Then you will be alone," she said, her smile as cold as ice. Miria left me in my apartment, alone. She took my phone, my laptop, everything. For days I had no contact with the outside world. I had no food, no water. I was alone and I felt like I was dying. I felt everything I had, my friends, my family, my career, was leaving me. I screamed, but no one heard me. The silence was deafening. I felt like I was a ghost in my own apartment. I was experiencing the greatest fear of my life. One night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was flooded with memories of my friends and family. I felt like my memories were fading, like a white screen was taking over my mind. I was losing my identity. Suddenly, a picture of a girl flashed in my mind. I didn't recognize her, but I felt like she was a part of my life. I started to paint her. As I worked, I realized this painting was a hidden chapter of my life. When I finished, I saw a girl's face with eyes filled with love and pain. I named the painting The Lost Love. I finally understood. This girl was someone I had loved, and Miria had stolen that memory from me. I rushed to the library to find information about Miria. I found an old article about a young, talented architect. Her name was Miria. The article said she had experienced 2 great losses in her life. Her father had died, and the person she loved had left her because he found her designs too perfect, lacking emotion. As I left the library, Miria was standing right there. "Alex, where were you?" Her eyes burned with rage. "Who are you?" I asked. Miria laughed. "I am an architect, just like you, Alex. But I experienced 2 great losses. My father died, and my love left me." "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "I'm telling you my story, Alex," Miria said. "You were trapped in your perfect designs. I helped you experience the deepest loss and the greatest fear. Now you can design the floor." I was terrified. I was losing my identity, and Miria was taking over my life. I tried to run, but my legs felt like lead. "You can't leave, Alex. You started this project and you will finish it," she said. I felt a cold current flow through my body. My memories were fading again. I was losing myself. I was Alex, but I didn't know who I was. I only knew that a girl was standing in front of me, taking over my life. I felt myself losing consciousness. When I regained consciousness, I found myself on the floor of my apartment. The headache hadn't subsided. Miria was sitting in front of me, with that mysterious smile on her face. I felt as if I were stuck in a nightmare. My life had become a game, with rules set by Miria. I stood up, feeling light and empty. My mind was blank, but I could feel my memories slowly returning. I looked at Miria. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. Miria just smiled. "Alex, you don't understand. I've pulled you out of your perfect little blueprint. Now you're a real architect. You've experienced the greatest loss and the greatest fear. Now you'll design the floor of revenge." I was stunned. Revenge? Against whom? Miria handed me a file with my old designs. I looked at them. They were perfect, but they lacked emotion. Then, she showed me her old designs. They were strange, but they had a deep sense of emotion. They were filled with pain and fear. "I'm telling you my story, Alex," Miria said. "I was an architect just like you. My life was perfect. But I experienced two great losses. My father died, and the person I loved left me. I listened to her story and I felt like I was living her life. Her story was my story. The person I loved left me because my designs were too perfect. He said they had no emotion. He left me alone, Miria said. I was beginning to understand. Miria was using my life to get her revenge. She was making me feel her pain, her fear, her loss. My final assignment was the floor of revenge. I had to design a place where people would feel their greatest desire for revenge. Alex, Miria said, what is your greatest revenge? I was still grieving over my father's death and the loss of my love. All I could think about was revenge. I told her I wanted to take the greatest revenge of my life. Miria smiled. What do you want? I want to get my revenge, I said. I want to hurt the person who hurt me. Miria laughed. Alex, your revenge is a masterpiece. Now design the floor. I started to work on the design. Every line, every corner was a reflection of my pain. I poured all my emotions into the design. It was a masterpiece of revenge. When I finished, Miria arrived. She looked at the design and smiled. Alex, it's perfect. Now you will get your revenge. I was shocked. What are you talking about? Miria laughed. Alex, your design is now mine. I will use it to get my revenge. Miria took my design files and left. I tried to stop her, but I couldn't move. I realized that Miria had used me. She had turned my life into a game. She had stolen my designs and she was going to use them to get her revenge. I was alone. I had lost everything. My father, my love, my designs, everything. I felt like my life was over. When I returned to my apartment, I saw a crowd of people outside. They were talking about my designs. They were praising my work. I didn't understand what was happening. I looked at my designs and they were on display in the city's most famous museum. I felt the greatest revenge of my life. Miria had turned my life into a game, but I had returned the favor. My designs were her revenge. I was alone, but I wasn't alone anymore. I was a part of Miria's life. I looked at Miria. She smiled at me. Her smile was cold. Alex, you can't defeat me. We are one. I felt a cold current flow through my body. My memories were fading again. I was losing my identity. I was Alex, but I didn't know who I was. I only knew that a girl was standing in front of me, taking over my life. I felt myself losing consciousness. I was a software engineer in New York City, and my life felt as sterile as my code. Every day was a cycle of screens and deadlines. My only escape was a dating app, a place I scrolled through more out of habit than hope. Then I saw her. Her name was Maya, and in a sea of generic selfies, her profile picture stood out. She had a simple, almost ethereal look, with her hair loose and a quiet, knowing glint in her eyes. I had to know more. My first message to her felt different, and her reply was immediate. We talked for hours, our conversation flowing so naturally it was as if we'd known each other forever. Our first date, in a cozy Greenwich Village cafe, was pure magic. Our second was an aimless walk through Central Park. Every time I was with her, I felt like the best version of myself. Maya was everything I never knew I was missing. She was funny, kind, and incredibly thoughtful. She remembered every small detail about me, from my favorite coffee to the color of my childhood blanket. I was falling, fast and hard, into the perfect love story. But the edges of that perfection began to fray. I noticed a change in her, a possessiveness that I initially mistook for deep affection. When I wanted to see my friends, she'd get quiet and ask, "Don't you want to be with me?" I just brushed it off, thinking she was just a girl who loved me a lot. Then the fear started. One night while I was working on my laptop, a message from her popped up. "Where are you, Supt?" I typed back, "Working." But as soon as the message was sent, I saw it. My files had been accessed. Screenshots of my private chats with friends, Personal documents. They were all there, staring back at me from my own hard drive. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. Could Maya have done this? The thought was a venomous whisper in my mind. I confronted her the next day, and her performance was flawless. "Why would you think that? Do you not trust me?" Her words cut deep, and I immediately felt guilty for my suspicions. I apologized, and for a moment I convinced myself I was just being paranoid. But a subtle distance had opened between us. I felt like I was constantly walking on eggshells. She had a way of looking at me that was both full of love and something else, something cold and unfeeling. I desperately wanted to escape this growing sense of dread, but her hold on me was too strong. My fear was no longer a whisper, it was a scream. The realization hit me with a jolt of pure terror. This wasn't love. This was something else entirely. The messages she had sent to my friends were full of personal details only I knew. I knew I had to end it. "Maya, I can't do this anymore," I told her, my voice trembling. "We're done." The light in her eyes went out, replaced by a deep, terrifying darkness. "You're leaving me?" she asked, her voice a low growl. "I told you, I know everything about you, Supt. Every secret you've ever kept." She pulled out her phone and showed me a text message she'd sent to my friend. It was a photo of my childhood home with a cruel, personal caption about a traumatic memory I'd only ever shared with my family. I screamed, "How did you do that?" "I told you," she said, her smile utterly devoid of warmth. "I know everything. I love you, Supt, and you're going to be mine forever." Panic-stricken, I ran back to my apartment, locking the door and unplugging my computer. I wanted nothing more than to cut all ties with her. But as I sat in the dark, my phone buzzed with a message from her. "Where are you?" A second later, another one came. "I'm outside your apartment." I crept to my window and saw her standing on the sidewalk, just staring up at my window. I tried to convince myself it was just a sick game, but a new, more terrifying thought began to form in my mind. This wasn't just a person. This was some kind of chilling, supernatural force. I felt like a mouse trapped in a maze, and Maya was the cat. The next day, the terror followed me to work. A message appeared on my computer screen unprompted. "I know where you are." I couldn't take it anymore. I went home early, but when I opened my apartment door, I found it unlocked. Inside, everything was in ruins. My furniture was overturned, my belongings shattered on the floor. On the wall, written in what looked like blood, were the words, "I found you, Supt." I stumbled back into the hallway, my heart pounding against my ribs. I had to run. There was no other choice. I couldn't go back to my apartment. I fled to my friend's place, a temporary refuge from a nightmare that had become my reality. I told him everything, and his face went pale with disbelief. "Supt, this is insane," he said. "This isn't a person. You have to face her." I knew he was right. I was out of options. I texted Maya, my fingers trembling. "Let's meet." She gave me an address, an abandoned church. Why a church? I was terrified, but I went anyway. I pushed open the heavy wooden doors. The air inside was thick with dust and decay. In the center of the room stood Maya, but this wasn't the girl I fell in love with. Her face was a mask of pure malice, and her eyes glowed with an unholy, malevolent light. "Supt, you came," she said, her voice echoing unnaturally. "I knew you would." "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "What do you want?" "I am your love," she replied, a sickeningly wide smile on her lips. "But you tried to reject me, so now I will take what is mine." She began to move toward me, each step a tremor through the old floorboards. I felt a horrifying pressure, as if an invisible force was crushing my chest. This wasn't a person. It was something ancient and evil, a malevolent entity that fed on human connection. I had invited a demon into my life, all in the name of love. "I'm giving you a way out," she whispered, her voice like shards of ice. "I will set you free." I closed my eyes, bracing for whatever horror was to come. But instead of a blow, I heard the faint sound of sirens. When I opened my eyes, Maya was gone. Paramedics rushed in, shouting questions. "Sir, are you okay? You were found in your apartment unconscious. There was a lot of blood." "My apartment?" I said, confused. "But I was just at the church." They looked at me with pity and concern. "There was no one else there, sir. Your friend called us. He found you passed out in your apartment with a deep cut on your head." The world tilted on its axis. I was taken to the hospital. My friend came to visit, his face full of worry. "Souped, what happened?" he asked. "You've been in here for days. Your social media, your laptop. Everything is fine. There was no hacker." I told him everything. The church, Maya's glowing eyes, the message on the wall. He just stared at me. "There's no Maya," he said gently. I checked. That dating profile was fake. "We think you had a mental break. The doctors said you hit your head pretty hard." The words were a physical blow. Was it all a hallucination? The love, the terror, the evil? Had my mind created a toxic girlfriend to represent some inner fear I couldn't face? The idea was more terrifying than anything else. I was alone, with a fractured mind and the chilling echo of a smile I could still hear in the quiet moments. "I am your love." I knew now that my heart hadn't just been broken, it had been haunted, and I would never truly be free.